You know, bad guys never think of themselves as bad guys. It's just a universal law.
I wasn't going to do a video response to VenomFangX's latest video. After all, his videos always seem to inspire a flood of video responses, and a lot of them are done by people more knowledgeable and more articulate than I am. But for some reason, Shawn's videos always stay with me, and I have a feeling that that's because he presents himself as being such a smart guy. He's got a very quick tongue, a gift of gab, and he presents himself as being so knowledgeable. Unfortunately, what comes out of his mouth is just so absurd, so delusional, and so self-contradictory. I'm amazed that he doesn't notice it himself. In particular, one part of Shawn's video stayed with me, and I'd like to play a clip of it.
Here's my problem. Your entire shtick here on YouTube, ever since you've gotten here, is to make fun and ridicule people like me. People who do exactly what you just told us to do. To sit back in a chair with your arms outstretched and wonder, well, maybe there is something behind the universe, something we're not totally seeing.
Now let me interrupt here to say that I think everyone knows Thunderfoot's shtick is not to make fun of Christians for being Christians. After all, Thunderfoot respects Don Exodus too, and he's a Christian. What Thunderfoot doesn't like is people who corrupt science, misrepresent science in order to perpetuate their own unscientific beliefs.
And as soon as we start to wonder and maybe even come to some answers and start to think maybe there is a God, you want to make fun of us and you want to ridicule us and stick us back in your little narrow-minded naturalistic box.
And I want to say here that Shawn's brand of Christianity has nothing to do with wonder. Shawn's brand of Christianity is about knowing all of the answers. Indeed, it's the opposite of wonder. It's to stop people from wondering.
You don't actually want us to think what's outside the universe, what caused everything. So, you know what, you're just a damn hypocrite. That's all there is to it. You're an absolute damn hypocrite. So tell you what, why don't you delete every video you've ever made where you've made fun of people who believe in God and, you know, encourage others to make fun of people who dare to actually think outside your stupid little box, okay? And then come back to YouTube when you're ready to actually take your own advice and start thinking, okay? Start critically thinking about the world and universe you live in.
Now, did you get that? He wants people to think outside the box, to think critically. In other words, think for themselves. Sounds like a good idea, right? But then later in the video, he does this.
The word universe comes from two words, uni, which means singular, and verse, meaning a spoken sentence. Indeed, we do live in a universe. You see, God spoke. He said, "Let there be," and there was. I'm glad that you believe that.
Now, other people have pointed out that the correct etymology of universe is one term and not one spoken sentence. More importantly, people have also pointed out that what he said is taken virtually verbatim from Kent Hovind. Now, isn't that interesting? Shawn admonishes us all to think for ourselves, to think outside the box. But he couldn't even be bothered to double-check and make sure that what Kent Hovind was saying was true. He couldn't be bothered to just look in a nearby dictionary and make sure that the etymology of universe was what Kent Hovind said. That was too much for him. And this is a guy who wants us all to think outside the box, to think critically, to think for ourselves. And he's not willing to think critically himself. I also need to point out that snide little remark that Shawn makes at the end of the clip where he says he's glad that Thunderfoot believes we live in a universe, implying that Thunderfoot also believes that the universe was spoken into existence by God. But that's obviously not what Thunderfoot meant. In another video that Shawn was in recently, he was interviewed by a radio talk show host and asked about his filing of false DMCAs against Thunderfoot. And this is what Shawn had to say.
Thunderfoot had some extremely offensive videos in which he took the content of my videos, cut them up, made me say things I really didn't say, and misrepresented me.
Not true. Thunderfoot did not misrepresent Shawn. He simply refuted Shawn's bastardization of science.
And it is illegal on YouTube to take someone's video and cut them up. It says right in their terms of service. DMCAs were not false, but unfortunately much of YouTube is automated and they don't really take the time. How could they? So many thousands, millions of videos.
Sure.
They don't really take the time to investigate every case. So he counter-notified YouTube, and the possibility of losing my channel scared me, and so Thunderfoot said, listen, I won't take this any further, I won't file a lawsuit or go into any details if you just read a simple apology. So I read a simple apology, and he dropped the whole thing, and I figured that was a far wiser course of action than actually going the whole lawsuit way. I don't think the DMCAs were false, but at the same time I didn't want to make it into a legal issue.
Clearly Shawn is living in his own little world where he's always right, and he's the victim of mean atheists. But more important is the statement that he was willing to read Thunderfoot's apology just to keep his YouTube channel. And in that apology, he admitted to being a liar.
I accept that I deliberately and repeatedly lied to cover up my wrongdoings.
So his YouTube channel, his YouTube account, was more important to him than his personal integrity. Is it any wonder that this guy doesn't have any credibility with so many people? Is it any wonder that when he says he's received death threats from Muslims, no one believes him? Once you've admitted to being a liar, you have a hard time convincing anyone that you're speaking the truth. Why Shawn would put himself in that position just to hold on to his YouTube channel, I can't understand. Unless maybe what he told the radio host wasn't true. Okay, so why bother with VenomFangX? Why not just ignore him? Well, what he says is so glaringly false and sometimes so delusional that I can't understand why so many people do believe what he says. To me, he epitomizes willful ignorance, and I can't let him get away with it.